Well, good morning. So I was wondering if anybody like worked on anything. I got a few emails, but if anybody wanted to share, if anybody worked on the fruit and and they wanted to share anything.
Oh, I have.
Oh, I can't see. I'm on Spotlight. Is there? So Judy, did you want to share something?
I didn't.
Did you do that from a grid? Okay. I think you're
Yes.
muted. Okay. So,
Yes. And then I went back with, I just played around with it. I did crayons, I did colored pencils. I just did a lot of different things. And then I did watercolor over some of it just to wash it off.
yeah, I could see the resist of the crayon. I think that's such a great idea. Like, you know, if
The hard part was I did the grid too dark. So when I had to go back and erase, I didn't understand how that grid thing worked. So anyway, so I kept going over it and over it and over it, trying to get rid of the lines. And it was fun. It took me all day.
okay. So after you did it once, you'll probably like you'll like get the hang of it, right? Like, yeah, I think so.
Today I'm going to try a different picture. I'm not doing what you're doing. I'm going to do a cat.
Okay. I just did a cat. I can show you mine. Wait, I'm gonna spot. I don't know exactly. No, this is beautiful.
Yeah, I just tried to put colored pencils in. I found it very hard to do with this kind of paper.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see, you know what, but I don't know how anybody else feels, but I kind of like the texture of it. Like there's something, you know, like it just adds to it. So.
Yeah, camouflage.
Yeah, I love it. So thank you for sharing. And did you get a different paper or?
Yes.
Okay. Doris, I'm gonna spotlight you. Wow, look at that.
I'm a very beginner.
You're a very beginner. Well, it doesn't look like it. Congratulations. Are you happy with this?
Yeah,
Yep.
I am. I also did colored pencil.
Yeah.
Can you tell that the fabric is fabric? I wasn't sure.
I can.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah,
Okay.
right? Don't
So
you guys think?
I find that I have a lot of difficulty getting that 3D. I think that my things tend to look more like 2D. I also tried to do I started doing a portrait of like what you're doing.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Wow. And you're a very beginner. No,
you very beginner, yeah. So, but I think that it might look better on there than it is.
I don't think it works that way.
No? So. Again, I find that it's hard for me to do the 3D effect.
You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not just the only one. Can you guys agree with me here? I think that's
really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
You know, and it definitely, like, you got the nose to come out a little, which isn't easy to do. So, you know, I think.
And when you shade it a little bit more.
I'm still working and it's not done. I find
right.
it very tiring, so I can only do a little bit at a time.
Yeah,
the mouth also needs a lot of work, I think.
Yeah. That's great.
Maybe you can give me some pointers on what to do.
I will. I definitely, well, I'm going to cancel your spotlight. That's, oh my gosh. So you got Sharon in the chat saying it looks great. Is there anybody else that wants to just like from what they worked on during the week, or no pressure? You don't have to. Kate, spotlighting you.
Yeah,
pretty.
I used watercolor on it.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned that Kate is a watercolorist. So this is beautiful, and you captured the fabric lovely. So are you gonna continue to work on it, or?
I don't know. The thing is, I don't like the bowl. I think it doesn't fit with anything else. So I'm not sure what to do with that. I was thinking maybe trying to get with it. I like everything else, but I don't like that part.
All right. I think I can help you with that. Let's see. I'm gonna cancel this and just see if just anybody else wants to. I don't know if I'm missing anybody. Again, we're a big group. I've got like 2 pages and I'm looking. So, all right. I wanted to talk a little bit about shading today. And again, some of you are more practiced than others, and I get that. And I kind of wanted to, notice I'm using the word practiced instead of like skills or talent or things like that, because I truly think that everybody can draw. It's just a question of whether or not you like it. You know, like I do think this is something that you can, you know, just like anything that you have to practice and do over and over and over again. And sometimes you're gonna, you know, be frustrated and throw it away. And then sometimes you're gonna have a successful result. And each time you're gonna learn from that. You know, you guys know this. So I think with, like, especially like the dog and even, Kate, with your watercolor, I think learning the values and pushing your values and getting your, like, what we call like a gray scale, like a whole scale of like, you know, pushing your darks and pushing and your lights. And this is just kind of practice, and it's definitely something that's intimidating to go like to, okay, go even darker and go even, you know, that kind of thing. So but it's an important lesson to learn. So I wanted to, and again, just like I said, practice all the different ways to do this. I did say, like, some of you only have pencils, which is fine, but those of you that have some of these, the micron pens that we used in the Zentangle class, you know, maybe we can use a couple of those, and we can practice a couple of different, you know, drawing and shading techniques. So I'm gonna, so my page didn't print out 100%, but I still think I can teach from it. I'm gonna get like a 2B pencil. I think that's my go-to pencil. And then somebody emailed me and said that they didn't have one of these blending stumps, and that's okay, because again, like, you can use a Q-tip, which I meant to bring, but, or you can use paper towel, which is behind me, and it's just a question of getting it to blend. So I'm just going to do an example here. So I have this, I'm using my pencil on this one because these I'm going to use some pens. So I just wanted to, you know, again, we're pushing our darks of where the shadows would be. And obviously the light source is like coming from this direction, like right here. So I'm pushing the dark. And then if you don't have a blending stick, which is fine, right? So I'm coming around here a little bit, but here, look, I just have a tissue, and I'm just gonna go in and blend, and that works too. Right, so, and as I'm doing this, you know, it'll have more and more, you know, maybe I'll get it really dark over here, and it makes it a little more dramatic. And just like I think I mentioned last week, like that the grayscale, even photographers, when the black and white photography, what makes it successful is that if you have all your values of gray, so it goes from, you know, light to medium dark to dark, you know, like there's like, and you want to try to get them, and that kind of makes like a successful black and white photography, but you can do this with color too. It's just a question of getting your tints and your darker, adding some darker tones into your colors and so you can see. So now if I wanted to create a shadow, right? So this, again, my light source is coming from here, from this direction. My shadow would be here, right? And obviously closest to the ball would be the darkest, and then it would lighten out, and then I can blend with my stick, or I can blend with a tissue. But can you see how I made that three-dimensional looking right in front of your very eyes? Right. So these are all things to consider when you're drawing something, like, right? So if my light source was coming in this direction, obviously my shadow would be here, my highlight would be up here. This example up here, clearly, like, right, the light source is coming in this direction, and my shadow, the shadow is here. That's a good, maybe to come in front a little bit. Right. So the same thing with my cone. Right. Again, my light source is coming from the right. So I'm gonna get this dark. I can blend. And maybe I don't want that clear of a line, but so I can continue. I can either erase a little bit.
Nancy?
Yeah. Yeah. Who's talking? Yes. I don't know who called me. No? Okay. All right, when you have your question, you can, or either, I don't know if you're muted or something's up with audio. Oh, Jane, yes, these were emailed, the shading sheets. So.
I have a question. This is Joya.
Yeah.
When you when you were shading the ball, like do your strokes all go one direction, or do some of them curve and then some of them are straight?
So this, you know what? Not when you're blending your lines for this middle one.
Uh-huh.
I'm not worrying so much about the direction, but we will talk about that with the cross hatching and the regular hatching. We'll talk about that in a minute. But because this is blended, Joya, you know, like you could be a little more haphazard because we're blending, right?
Okay.
You can't see my line stroke.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. All right, so then moving on, I'll go into cross hatching, which then I'm going to use a pen, but you could totally use a pencil. You can, maybe if you want to use a little bit of a harder pencil, like the HB, you could do that. So this way you can get like a nice clean line. For those for demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a number 2 micron pen for my cross hatching, right? So just like Joya was saying, like for cross hatching and hatching, this is the use of line to create form and to create like that whole like two-dimensional, but then you definitely want to kind of go in the direction. I don't know if you guys, can you see that? Let me see. Yeah, okay. So lots of lines. Again, my light source is coming from the right. And this hatching is called in one direction, is one direction, just going left and right. I am curving. If this were a box, if I were working on the cube, I'd be going up and down. Right? Let me draw like a little cube up here. My cube got cut off. Right. So if I were drawing a cube, I'd be going, does that make sense? So if I'm drawing something that's straight, I'm going straight up and down. And I'm drawing something curved, I'm curving it. Right? Kind of gives it a little bit more appearance. For here, this is cross hatching, going in another direction. Right. And now I feel like just let me know if I'm confused, if I'm going too fast or if I'm confusing. You can just let me know in the chat. So I'm going to do these simultaneously. So for the sphere, I'm going to go in a circular in the motion. I'm going to create my shadow. If I get it really dark down here, then it kind of gives it plants it down. Right. My cube, right, if my light source is coming here, perhaps this side would be darkest. So I'm crossing. When I cross hatch, I'm going in one direction and then I'm going in another, but I'm going straight because it's a, and again, if I'm going too quickly, just let me know. Right. So this is my one side of my cube, maybe my top, because again, if my light is coming from this direction, maybe my top might be a little bit lighter. If I wanted to create a shadow off of this, right, my light source, this line.
Is there a certain time where you would use one shading technique as opposed to another?
It's a good question. I think it depends on what materials you're using. So if this were a pen and ink drawing, you would use, right? So if it's a pencil drawing, I think a pen and ink would definitely require like cross hatching, right? A pencil drawing would more be shading. Does that make sense? Right, because the shading.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So it kind of depends on your materials that you're using. Um, and so, and then lastly, before we go into,
Nancy, I have a question. I'm sorry, before you move on. It's
go ahead.
Jean.
Hi, Jean.
Hi. So with the sphere, when you did the shading, the shading, the shadow part of it, it looks like you did it flat. Although inside the sphere you were keeping the circular aspect of it. So are you trying, is it because shadow is flat on the surface?
Oh yeah, you know what? That's, you mean on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because thank you, Jeannie, because that's like, you know, I do things out of habit, and then you don't even realize that that's a teachable moment. But yes, the surface is flat.
Okay. So the line, so you're doing horizontal lines really there.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, because again, like that's one of those things that, you know, habit happens. So the cone, I could do the cone. Right, coming down here. You can see I'm going in the direction of the cone. And now I'm gonna go across. And again, now I'm curving, right, to give it a little bit of depth. Right, so it's darkest here. The next, after the crosshatch, is stippling. And it's so funny. I always like to have some type of pointillism project with my, when I teach kids, with all the little dots. And boy, do they hate me for it. But I think it's an important lesson in patience. I give them, you know, regular like markers, and I don't let them draw lines, and I just make them go, you know, dot, dot, dot. And at the end, they actually have like a really nice result. But boy, while they're going through it, they hate it. So, and this will come some more of a point. This is gonna come, and again, straight. Does that give it, yeah, shadow. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go a little bit. For this, I'm gonna use my number 8 micron pen. I know pointillism artists that, wow, like the work and the time is incredible. I've tried, I think I have an example of one of my pointillism works. That's one of my stickers. Oh, I can find it later. Anyway, so again, we did line up here. We did shadow shading in here. This is dots. And we're more dense with our dots around the edge. And then we bring our dots lighter as we go into the center. And I'm sure you could just imagine 8-year-old kids loving this. So, but it's really one of those things that satisfies you, you know, to be completed when you see something. So I guess as I'm talking, you can probably tell which one I gravitate to. I like this. Right, so I'm denser in my dots over here. That's creating my dark line. And just in here for my shadow, I'm still doing dots. So I'm not doing straight lines, even though it's a straight surface. But I'm denser at the edge. And I'm gonna lighten them up because it's a shadow. I feel like this is one of those things that you're either going to love it or hate it.
Nancy, it's Jeannie again. So with this, you're working with the pen. So I understand that you're doing more dots to make it darker and fewer dots to make it lighter. But if you're working with a pencil, can you also do the same thing with just by using pressing darker and then lighter?
Yeah. So if I use, so let's say again, Jeannie, I'm really glad you're in this class because then you're helping me think things through. So if I were going to do pointillism with a pencil, let's see, I pulled out my 4B, and because it's dark, I can do the same thing, and I can just dot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
So, So yeah, with a little bit of a deeper lead, I can still create my dots with pencil.
Sorry, you can also change the pressure too, right? Like, so you can do darker and lighter.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see, I can lighten my dot. This could be frustrating because it's hard to see. But yeah, look, that's because if you notice, actually, you know, now that you mention it, I think I was gripping my pencil pretty tightly here, which isn't very good for you, right? To get a nice dark dot. So we can also just say that pointillism is probably best with a pen, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because I think just as I'm paying attention to myself, it's never good to do this, you know, it's never good to hold this tightly because, you know, because you'll cramp, it'll hurt your hand. So, anyway. All right. Okay, any questions about this as we're moving on? Again, I don't want to go too quickly. I don't see anything in the chat. Does anybody have any?
Are we going to be doing any animal pictures today?
So I didn't. So Marilyn, I went through the 4 that I sent, and then some of I already know that some of you guys did your own, which is so fine. I really just wanted to play with shading. So whatever you wanted to shade.
Okay.
I first, because I emailed you and you said you were going to do the tiger, I first started to do the tiger, and I feel like this might be harder to do for the beginners.
Okay.
So personally, I think I'm going to do the lighthouse.
Okay.
So, you know, so again, those of you who have a little bit more practice, if you, and again, you wanted to do some other things, and, you know, John, I'm sorry if I'm gonna put you on the spot, but did you work on the tiger? I don't know if he's here.
I'm here. I just had to unmute. Not much.
Okay. All right. I just like.
I can show you if you want.
Do you, yeah, I'd like that if you don't mind. Again, I'm sorry I'm putting you on the spot, but I just know your skills. Oh. Okay, so yeah.
Oh.
So John pulled in a little bit of white, which is great. So what did you use for that? Are you using charcoal and?
I'm using charcoal, white charcoal, and black charcoal. Oops.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So the paper itself is a tan paper.
Mm-hmm.
Sand?
Tan.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
tan.
so I'm working with white and black on the tan, and I'm using the tan as like a neutral.
Yeah. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And you gridded it and everything. So again, I'm sorry I put you on the spot, but
No problem.
that's what happens when I start to know you. So, yes, in the Zentangle class, John was like our shading master. So that's why I chose him. So I normally teach, like if we were together in a classroom. Yes, I don't know, John, if you saw Sharon's comment, she loves the contrast, which again, like if I agree, like then that's what shading does, like to push your darks to get it, like go from really dark to really light is what, really jumps out and is interesting. Again, if we were in a classroom, I would definitely have you guys working on your own things that are personal. So that's why I give you choices. So, and then go individually to help you, get your results that you want. So, again, knowing that this is a beginner class, that's why I really, what I liked about this lighthouse is that it had, I was drawn to this line where the shadow, it's a very clear, dark, medium, and light. I hope you guys can see that too, right? So there's like 3 shades on, especially on the lighthouse, of dark, medium, and light. So I gridded my paper.
We don't have the picture of the lighthouse on.
So you didn't.
We're seeing you instead.
Oh, I see. You don't have like my spotlight, or didn't?
Right. We don't see your spotlight.
Sorry about that.
Well, at least I don't.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. All right. So again, so really definite dark, medium, and light in the shading, and that's going to give it that depth that makes it look like it's going around. So I gridded. I don't know, again, at this point, we're going to be working at our own speed. I'm working in pencil. I'm going to work with a 2B pencil. There's 16 squares. I made 16 squares on my paper. Marilyn, I think I wrote to you that I work on, that my pad was 12 by, 16, but this is 11 by 14.
Yeah, that's okay. Mine's 9 by 12. It'll work.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It'll work.
Again, gridding is one of those things that it's made to make, blow things up, just like Beth was saying, like in terms of doing scenery. People were given a little card that had a grid on it, and they're meant to blow it up. So gridding is a perfect way to learn how to blow things, enlarge things. Anyway.
I have a question on that app that you showed that you used last time for the gridding pictures.
Yes.
How were you able to get the 18 squares? I only was able to add horizontal lines, but not the vertical ones, so I couldn't get squares.
Okay, let's do that real quick. All right. And I'll also do like a little bit of a shameless. We talked a little bit about our grand pets. Okay. All right. That's my grand cat. Okay. Let's see. What did I do here? That's my frame. Here's the grid. Are you watching? I don't know. Okay.
Yeah.
Grid type. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
So you can do a 4 square. You see, all right. You can do this a little bit bigger, and you can move it around, right? So you can make this bigger and smaller. What I did is I use this, and then I can, if I wanted, let's say this to be 9 squares, I can reduce this, right, into this space. I can.
Yes, I understand that, but you had more squares than that. You had 18 squares. On
Right.
on the last picture, the fruits.
Yeah, that happened naturally, actually. Let's see my,
I don't know how you got 18.
let's see. My projects. Right. So it originally did this one because it was the picture was a rectangle.
Right.
Right. So it originally did this one. I thought that this was too many, right? 4 times, right? 7. So I made it bigger.
But I couldn't get more than 16 squares.
Yeah. So then that's what you got to do is this one. Grid type.
Yeah.
It's this
that
one.
one gives you 16.
Huh? And then
that one gives you 16.
No, that's this will grid, and then if you make your picture smaller.
I understand that you can get less squares. I'm asking how you got more squares.
Yeah, I know. I use this one. Let's see. There's a custom grid here.
Yes, that's the one I tried, and you can only add horizontal lines, not vertical, so you end up with rectangles instead of squares.
Yeah. Right. I know I use this one for my bigger. I know I use this one. So.
Nancy, is that an iPad?
This is my iPad, yes. I'm always on my iPad.
And is that a special app?
Yeah, the app we talked about is called Art Tools.
Art Tool?
Yeah, Art. This is what it looks like. Don't.
Right. Okay.
Don't judge me for my games. So, yeah. I don't know if I answered your question, but I know that that's what I used, and it naturally gave me those 18 squares. So, okay. All right. Let's go back to this. What time is it?
Thank you.
And for Shorty, okay. All right. I'm gonna go, and I'm drawing my lighthouse. Now here's something that if you wanted to use a ruler, you can, because it's, you see, I'd rather just sketch. I just need this comes out a little bit because it's flaring on the bottom. And here I go. So this is my darkest shading point. I think other people did like another. Can grid be done on Word or something? Can it be done on another?
I ended up doing it by hand.
Yeah. Oh well, definitely on the paper. You definitely do it by hand, or yeah, on the, I always.
I did it on Word, but then I didn't know that you had to turn around and erase it after the picture was all done.
Oh,
so that's why it won't really work.
But you know what though? But at least you learned the gridding process, and that's okay. And then the next time, right?
Yes.
And okay, so here I am. So that my darkest tone was my edge here. I'm going a little lighter. Here. I'm going to blend in a minute after I get these down. I didn't put my windows in. And so you can see, like, I think Joya, you were asking, like, I'm going up and down, but but I do plan on blending. Right, so it has like a more smooth transition. So you don't see my pencil lines. And I just feel like I need it a little darker here. I'm gonna lighten my hand up a little bit with this. There's a very clear line down the center here. I lightened it up, but now I'm blending it in. And you know what? That looks a little dark to me, so this is where that kneaded eraser comes in. Handy. Let me get that blended. I talked about this the first day, and you can start to pull this up and lighten that up. Like this line right here, erase it. I'm using my ruler here because there's a very, very sharp angle here. I'm gonna soften it up a little bit. Maybe now I'll take the time to erase this grid line because it seems to be getting in my way. So you gotta work like how it works for you. Right, so for me, having this grid line is only getting in my way. Just lightly getting this angle down. This is coming out. It's coming down in this direction as it flares out. You know, you can also use your finger to blend. I think for this, tissue worked well. And I hope you guys can see that I am, you know, I'm going back and forth, I'm correcting, I'm making errors, I'm fixing, you know, until I get the values that I want. I'm starting now. I have my very, very basic of shading, but now I want to push my darks. So I'm going to use my darker pencil. I'm going to go into my 6B.
So the higher the number, the darker it is?
Yes. And the B is the dark. H will be light. There's a little bit of a shadow cast under here. Look, I'm gonna cross hatch that shadow just to kind of. You know, and I know that I'm dealing with perspective here, and that's a whole other lesson. But just, I hope you see that, like, as I'm getting, as I'm putting the darker tones in there, how it's setting that back. Can you guys see that? On the sides here. And it's giving it a little bit of dimension. Real quick in terms of, again, about perspective. When you're doing things like these kind of gates and stuff, you always try to match your line. So how this line is going in this direction, it's clearly this angle. They're all going to be that angle. This has a little bit of an angle, but not much, and they're all going to match. I don't know, this is hard to see. Maybe the lighthouse wasn't the easiest choice. Definitely easier than the tiger. Now it's 10:50 already. This comes up like this. I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, there's stuff in the chat. I'm sorry. Oh, you guys are asking me about the name of the chat. The name of the app is called Art Tools. It has that A.
Is it free?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Oh yeah, I'm only a free app girl. Like again, you know, I can start to put in my windows. My window goes a little bit on the bottom. This in the middle of this square. There's a little bit here. There's a little rectangle here. Again, right now I'm just, again, blocking in my shapes before, you know, it goes through a process. I'm just kind of blocking in my shapes, working my grid. There's a landline that goes under this grid over here. Can you still see? Sorry, I'm off. Adjust my, as Lynn called it, my octopus. My phone and my cords and stuff that's around my head. It's a whole new way of working. And then my, you know, my rock formation. Again, just blocking things out. There's not much else going on. I could probably think to erase more of my grid lines just for, so this way if they don't interfere with my work. All right. Let me take myself off spotlight. We have only like 5 minutes. So anybody want to talk to me or add anything or say anything, share anything, questions? We have, and let me just go to my next page. Anybody have anything to add?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Julia.
I'm doing the tiger.
Okay.
God knows why I decided that.
Because it's cool looking.
It is. He has a lot of fuzzy edges. What's the trick to doing the fuzzy edges?
You gotta squint and break it down into a shape. So like the magic of TV. Wait. Okay. I see. This is how I knew that I felt like it was a little harder. So, wow. But let's see. So the if you remember what, like how like John did his and stuff like that, is if you break this down into shapes and just worry about the shape, and that's why I picked a tiger, because they're so specific shapes on the as the stripes. You can then at the end go in and fur up a little bit. Does that, for lack of better words, let me just see if I can, like, let me get a shape here. All right, so here's this shape around his eye. comes up like this. And let's say it's black, so we want to keep this shape black. All right, I'm rushing. Right, and it's blended into, right? You can then take some time and show some details at the end and get some fur in there, but not a lot, because then it's just going to look, you know, have a lot of lines. My advice would be is to always go in the same direction as the fur that you see. So like the ear is going up in this kind of direction, and like, but indicate fur at the end.
At the end. Oh, okay. And is there a special pencil that's best for the fur?
I would do the black. I would use the darkest color that you have. So your 6B, I was just using a 6B. I would use the darkest color.
Thank
So
you.
working from light to dark would be
Okay.
would always is good advice. So anybody else have anything to add? So one of the things that I wanted to, I was thinking, but I can take a little poll with you guys. I was thinking on working on the dynamics of a face, like a basic face drawing. Anybody have interest? Jeannie's shaking her head. Is that a yes? Joy is shaking her head. Camille's shaking her head no.
Yes. Yes.
So again, like, so there is even though we all look, even though we all obviously look different, there's some very, very similar parts of a face. And I was thinking about working on a face. However, again, we're all adults. Like if you started something and you want to continue, and you know, and then on what you're working on with this class, you know, be my guest. But that was my plan, was to go over the basics of a face. You know, and,
Will you send us the face?
I can send. I was actually going to do a generic face.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to do a specific face. I was just going to do like a generic two eyes, nose, and a mouth. And it's interesting. You all, maybe I'll ask you to have a mirror near you, and it's interesting because they'll end up looking like you. So that's what I wanted to do for next week. So I won't send you the face. But I am gonna ask you to bring a mirror. So just for reference, just so you can, so when I ask you to look at something, you have a face to look at, and it's yours. Because again, in 4 weeks, you know, again, if we covered line, and we covered grid, and if we cover shade, and now face, I think that's a good overall encompassing beginning drawing. But I think we'll, you know, Katie was saying we can continue in the fall, which I would love, and then I can, you know, you guys can. All right, Lynn's saying yes, let's try it. All right.
Oh.
So, all right, thank you. So class is just about over, and again, feel free to reach out to me on email. I definitely will, you know, I try my best to answer them, you know, and I hope you guys all stay cool. All right. So, and I'll see you next week. And again, feel comfortable to just reach out to me.